The massive observation deck on Stellar Nexus Station buzzed with activity as representatives from across the galaxy gathered to witness the arrival of humanity's flagship. Through the vast transparent viewport, stars glittered against the blackness of space, creating a stunning backdrop for the approaching vessel. "There it is," said Commander Tay, pointing a slender blue finger toward the human ship. His lips curled into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "The pride of Earth. They call it the Endeavor." Around him, other members of the Arcs delegation crowded closer to the viewport. The Arcs were known throughout the galaxy for their technological superiority. Their ships resembled perfect crystal formations that seemed to flow through space rather than travel through it. "Is that metal plating?" asked Officer Yoon, squinting at the approaching human vessel. Unlike the Arc ships with their seamless designs, the Endeavor had visible seams where metal plates joined together. Cooling vents released visible vapor into space, and external thrusters jutted out from the hull like afterthoughts. Commander Tay laughed. "Yes, actual metal, riveted together like some kind of ancient water vessel. I wouldn't be surprised if they sealed it with tar." The gathering crowd of alien diplomats grew as word spread about the human ship's approach. The Nuru representatives, with their flowing robes and luminescent skin, watched with particular interest. Their own ships were semi-living organisms that grew rather than were built, with hulls that breathed and healed themselves. Do they truly expect to join the Galactic Council with such? Council member Do paused, searching for a polite word. "Basic technology. They're very confident," said Tay. "They've only achieved faster-than-light travel 60 years ago, and already they want a seat at the table with species that have been traversing the stars for thousands of years." Inside the Endeavor's command bridge, Captain Jin stood with perfect posture, unaware of the ridicule her ship was receiving. The bridge hummed with the sounds of systems running at optimal efficiency, at least by human standards. Screens displayed. Approach vectors and crew members called out readings in professional tones. "Stellar Nexus Station has granted us docking permission, Captain," reported Navigation Officer Park. "They've assigned us to the outer ring, Bay 14. Jin nodded. "Thank you, Officer Park. Take us in steady. Remember, we're not just representing Earth, we're representing all of humanity." Engineer Lee approached the captain with a tablet displaying the ship's systems. "All drives functioning normally, Captain. The new stabilizers are holding better than expected." "Good work, Lee. I know you've been working around the clock to get them installed before this meeting." What neither of them knew was that those new stabilizers would soon become the focus of intense galactic scrutiny. As the Endeavor approached its assigned docking bay, the alien delegates continued their commentary. "Look at those thrusters." A Krell diplomat rumbled, his rock-like skin shifting as he spoke. "Chemical propulsion for close-quarters maneuvering? My ancestors used similar technology 10,000 years ago." "And those exposed cooling systems," added a Vril scientist, her four eyes blinking in disbelief. "They're venting heat directly into space rather than recycling it. How wasteful." Commander Tay nodded in agreement. "The humans have achieved remarkable progress for their age as a spacefaring species, but they're children playing with toys compared to our civilizations." A junior Arcs diplomat named Sung approached the group, having just reviewed the official human delegation files. "Their captain is named Jin, first deep space assignment. Her engineering team apparently made some groundbreaking modifications to their drive system." He made air quotes with his fingers. This prompted more laughter from the gathered officials. "What do they consider groundbreaking?" asked Tay. "Discovering that round ships fly better than square ones?" From another viewing platform, Council Elder Min watched the scene with less amusement and more contemplation. Unlike his younger colleagues, Min had witnessed the rise and fall of several galactic civilizations. "Don't be too quick to judge," he said quietly to his aide. "Young species can surprise you. They see problems with fresh eyes, unburdened by centuries of established thinking. But Elder Min," the aide replied, "their technology is clearly inferior. Their ship looks like it would fall apart if pushed beyond light speed factor 3. Appearances can be deceiving," Min replied. "Remember the Zenth. They appeared primitive until we discovered they had mastered dimensional engineering while still using combustion engines. The Endeavour finally reached its docking position, metallic clamps extending to secure it to the station. Captain Jin and her crew prepared to disembark, straightening their uniforms and reviewing diplomatic protocols one final time. "Remember," Jin told her team, "we may not have the most advanced ship in the galaxy, but we have something unique to offer the Council. We just need to get them to see past our differences." Little did she know that those differences would soon turn from a source of mockery to a source of astonishment for the entire galactic community. As the airlock cycled and the human delegation prepared to step onto the station for the first time, the seeds of a profound revelation were already planted, hidden within the very systems the aliens found so amusing. The Grand Council chamber of Stellar Nexus Station gleamed with polished surfaces and floating holographic displays. Representatives from 27 spacefaring civilizations sat in tiered seats arranged in a perfect circle. At the center stood a small platform where speakers could address the gathering. Captain Jin and her 5-person diplomatic team entered. Through the main doors, their footsteps echoing in the sudden quiet. Jin felt the weight of countless eyes on them, some curious, many dismissive, none particularly welcoming. "The human delegation may approach," announced the chamber herald, a tall, willowy being with silver skin. Jin led her team forward, keeping her back straight and her expression neutral, despite the whispers that rippled through the chamber. She'd prepared for this moment her entire career, but nothing could fully prepare her for the feeling of being treated like a curiosity rather than a peer. "Captain Jin of Earth Vessel Endeavour," she said, introducing herself as they reached the speaking platform. "We bring greetings from the United Earth Government and look forward to meaningful exchange with the Galactic Council." Council Leader Han, an imposing figure with deep red skin and ornate ceremonial armor, looked down from the highest tier. "The Council acknowledges Earth's enthusiasm for joining galactic affairs." His pause was deliberate, drawing subtle laughter from several delegates. Jin's communications officer, Bei, shifted uncomfortably beside her. Jin gave him a reassuring glance. They had discussed how to handle condescension in their preparations. "We have assigned viewing platforms in Section 12, continued Han, gesturing to a distant corner of the chamber where small seats had been positioned behind a partial barrier. "Observer status allows you to witness proceedings without voting. Rights or speaking privileges, except when directly addressed by council members." Jin nodded politely. "We appreciate the opportunity to learn from the council's proceedings." As they moved toward their designated area, Jin overheard an ARC's diplomat say, "At least they're trainable," to his companion, triggering more laughter. The observation seats were clearly designed for smaller beings. The humans had to squeeze in uncomfortably. From this position, they could see the proceedings, but were effectively separated from participation. The first 3 hours of the summit focused on trade route disputes between the ARC's Empire and the Nuru Collective. Complex negotiations involving territories humans hadn't even mapped yet. During a brief recess, Jin approached Council Leader Han as he consulted with his advisors. "Excuse me, Council Leader," she said with a respectful bow. "While observing the trade route discussion, I noticed our Earth ships have developed navigation systems that might help with the disputed Kelnar passage. We've created algorithms that can calculate safe paths through quantum instabilities." Han looked at Jin as though she were a child, interrupting adults. "Captain Jin, while your enthusiasm is charming, perhaps humanity should focus on catching them up to current galactic standards before offering advice on matters beyond your understanding." Several nearby delegates chuckled. One whispered loudly enough to be heard, "Next, they'll offer us fire-making technology." Jin maintained her composure. "Of course, Council Leader. We're here to learn." She returned to her team without showing the frustration she felt. "They don't even want to hear what we have to offer," whispered Engineer Lee, her face flushed with anger. "Patience," Jin replied quietly. "We didn't expect to be welcomed as equals on day one." Across the chamber, Commander Tay supervised a team conducting routine security scans of all vessels docked at the station, standard procedure during high-level meetings. His subordinates worked efficiently, processing data from advanced scanning arrays that could penetrate any known shielding. Sir, we've completed scans of all Quadrant 3 vessels, reported Junior Officer Jun. Moving to Quadrant 4 now, which includes the human ship. Tay nodded absently, paying little attention. The human vessel was considered the least security concern. Their technology was too primitive to pose any threat. Run standard profile only on the Earthship. Focus resources on the Krell battlecruiser. They've been acting suspiciously lately. Back in the council chamber, debate had shifted to resource allocation in the Orion Spur, a region relatively close to Earth space. Jin listened intently as various species made claims to mineral-rich planets. When the Vril representative mentioned plans to harvest helium-3 from gas giants in the undeveloped sector near the human home system, Jin couldn't remain silent. She pressed the request button on her observation platform. Surprisingly, Council Leader Han acknowledged her. The human observer wishes to speak. This should be entertaining. Proceed, Captain. Jin stood. Thank you, Council Leader. I would like to note that 3 of the gas giants mentioned in this proposal fall within Earth's claimed territory. We have already established preliminary mining operations on the moons of claimed territory, interrupted a Krell representative, his voice booming. By what authority does Earth claim anything? You've barely left your solar system. Before Jin could respond, Han raised his hand. The human perspective, while irrelevant to our decision, has been noted. He dismissed her with a wave, continuing the discussion as if she hadn't spoken. During the next break, Jin's team huddled together, discouraged but determined. They're dividing up resources in our backyard without even acknowledging our existence, said Security Officer Ju. Jin nodded. I know, but we expected this. Remember our briefing. First contact scenarios rarely favor newcomers. We keep our dignity, learn what we can, and look for opportunities to demonstrate our value. What none of them knew was that across the station, a junior technician named Q was staring at his scan results of the Endeavour with growing confusion. He ran the diagnostic again, certain there must be an error in the equipment. This can't be right, he muttered to himself, as the implications of what he was seeing began to dawn on him. The human ship, so mocked and dismissed, was about to turn the entire galactic power structure on its head. In the scanning control room of Stellar Nexus Station, Junior Technician Q stifled a yawn. The night shift was always dull, especially when tasked with routine security scans of visiting vessels. He'd been at it for hours, processing one ship after another, logging the expected energy signatures and propulsion systems. The room hummed with the quiet operation of advanced computers. Holographic displays showed 3-dimensional renderings of each vessel as the scans progressed. Q took a sip of his cooling beverage and pulled up the next ship in the queue, the human vessel Endeavour. Let's get this over with, he muttered to himself. Probably the easiest scan of the night. The preliminary data began streaming across his screen. Power core, standard fusion reactor, weapon systems, minimal defensive capabilities, shield technology, basic particle deflection. Nothing surprising. Q was about to log the report and move on when something caught his eye. The energy distribution patterns from the ship's drive system didn't match any known configuration, where there should be a steady flow between the power core and the propulsion systems. The Endeavour showed bizarre fluctuations. That can't be right, Q said, sitting up straighter. He adjusted the scanning parameters and ran it again. The same weird pattern appeared. Energy seemed to flow into certain components of the drive system and then disappear. Not convert to another form of energy, not dissipate as heat, just vanish from their sensors entirely. Q rubbed his eyes and checked the equipment calibration. Everything was functioning normally. He ran a diagnostic on the scanning array itself, all systems optimal. Maybe it's some kind of interference, he reasoned, and isolated the frequency bands to filter out potential disruptions. The third scan showed identical results. By now, Q's curiosity had overcome his boredom. He pulled up the theoretical models for all known drive systems in the Galactic database and compared them to the Endeavour's readings. Nothing matched, not even remotely. Hey, Jian, he called to a colleague monitoring another station. Can you take a look at this? I think our equipment might be glitching. Jean, a more experienced technician with 10 years on the job, shuffled over. He stared at the screen for a long moment, then frowned. "That's weird," he admitted. "Run a focused scan on just the drive section." Q did as suggested. The results were even more baffling. The targeted scan revealed energy signatures that somehow existed in multiple phase states simultaneously, something that should be physically impossible according to the laws of quantum mechanics as understood by the Council races. "This has to be an equipment error," Jan concluded. "Log it for maintenance and move on." But Q couldn't let it go. After Jan returned to his station, Q quietly copied the scan data to his personal device for further study. When his shift ended 3 hours later, instead of heading to his quarters, he made his way to the science division. The Gamma Shift Science Lab was nearly empty, except for a few researchers working on ongoing projects. Q spotted Science Officer Sun, known for her brilliant mind and open-minded approach to unusual phenomena. Unlike many of the older scientists, Sun didn't automatically dismiss ideas that challenged established theories. "Officer Sun?" Q approached nervously. "Could I show you something strange I found during routine scanning?" Sun looked up from her work, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of curiosity in her species. "Of course, Technician Q. What have you found?" He transferred the data to her workstation and explained the anomalous readings. Sun's expression grew increasingly focused as she examined the scans. "You've run multiple diagnostics?" she asked. "Yes, officer. 3 full system checks and recalibrated the arrays twice." Sun's fingers flew across her console, running her own analyses. "And this is from the human ship, the Endeavour?" "Yes. Everyone's been laughing at how primitive it is, but these readings—" Q trailed off. "These readings suggest technology far beyond primitive," Sun finished for him. She leaned back in her chair, all 4 eyes wide open now. "This energy pattern, it's like nothing in our database." She pulled up theoretical models and complex equations. "The closest match is theoretical physicist One's work on dimensional phase shifting, but that's purely mathematical. No one's ever built a working prototype." Could it be a mistake, or the humans accidentally creating an unusual energy pattern without realizing it? Q asked. "Possibly," Sun admitted, "but that would be like accidentally building a quantum computer while trying to make a calculator." She continued analyzing the data, her excitement growing visibly. "We need to report this to Chief Science Officer Gunn." "My supervisor already dismissed it as equipment error," Q said hesitantly. "Your supervisor is wrong," Sun replied firmly. "This is potentially the most significant discovery in propulsion technology in the last 300 years. The next morning, Q was summoned to a secure conference room. When he arrived, he was shocked to find not only Science Officer Sun and Chief Science Officer Gunn, but also Commander Tay and 2 high-ranking Council security officials. "Show them exactly what you showed me," Sun encouraged. With nervous hands, Q presented his findings again, explaining each anomalous reading and the steps he'd taken to verify the data. Chief Science Officer Gunn, an older scientist known for his skepticism, initially tried to explain away the readings. "Perhaps their primitive shielding is creating interference patterns." "With respect, Chief," Sun interrupted, "I've ruled out every form of interference. These readings are real." Commander Tay, who had been silently watching, finally spoke. "If these readings are accurate, the humans have somehow developed technology that our scientists have only theorized about. Or they've stumbled onto something by accident that they don't even understand themselves," suggested one of the security officials. Gunn stared at the data, his earlier dismissiveness fading. "Either way, this changes everything. We need to conduct a full covert scan of the Endeavour immediately." As the meeting ended, Q found himself both excited and troubled. The humans had been mocked and dismissed since their arrival, yet their primitive ship contained something that defied understanding. He wondered if Captain Jin and her crew had any idea what they had brought to Stellar Nexus Station. The council chamber had transformed from a place of orderly discussion to a battleground of raised voices and angry gestures. The topic of resource, rights in the Orion Spur, the sector nearest to human space, had sparked fierce debate among the delegates. The Ark's empire has historical claims to all 7 gas giants in that sector, insisted Commander Tay, standing at the central platform. His usually calm demeanor had given way to barely controlled frustration. Our mining operations were planned decades before humans even achieved spaceflight. The Nuru representative, a being of shifting colors and fluid movements, countered, "Immediately. Yet you've established no permanent presence there. The collective has already sent survey teams to 3 of those planets." From their observer seats, Captain Jin and her crew watched the heated exchange with growing concern. These were planets barely 30 light-years from Earth, practically in humanity's backyard by galactic standards. "They're dividing up a neighborhood like we don't exist," whispered Officer Bay. Jin nodded grimly. "And we have no vote." What the human delegation didn't know was that while this debate raged, a very different drama was unfolding in a secure section of the station. Commander Tay had secretly ordered a comprehensive, invasive scan of the Endeavour, far beyond the standard security protocols. A team of Ark scientists and engineers had gathered in a shielded room, using the most advanced scanning technology available to the Council. Chief Science Officer Gunn stood surrounded by 3-dimensional holograms, displaying the Endeavour's internal systems. "Focus the quantum resonance scanners on the drive section," he ordered. "Maximum resolution." The air shimmered as new data flowed in, creating detailed images of the human ship's propulsion system. The room fell silent as the scientists stared. "The results. This can't be right," muttered Senior Engineer Hua, her fingers moving rapidly through the holographic interface. "The drive core is showing quantum superposition across multiple dimensional planes." Gunn moved closer to the display. "Verify and confirm. Check for scanning artifacts." After several minutes of tense work, Hua looked up. "Confirmed, sir. The human ship's drive system is actively manipulating dimensional boundaries. It's not just traveling through space. It's partially existing in multiple realities simultaneously. Science." Officer Sun, who had been running complex calculations at another station, joined them. "According to these readings, the Endeavour's drive creates a field that allows it to occupy what we would call probability space. It's not just in one fixed position, it exists in a cloud of potential positions all at once." "That's impossible," Gunn said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Professor Wan theorized such technology 50 years ago, but even our best scientists concluded it would take centuries to develop a working model." Commander Tay, who had slipped away from the council debate to check on the scanning team's progress, entered the room. "What have you found?" Gunn turned to him, his professional composure cracking. "Commander, the humans have somehow developed true quantum positioning technology. Their ship doesn't move through space-time in the conventional sense. It shifts probability states to reposition itself." "In simple terms?" Tay demanded. "In simple terms," Sun explained. "Their ship can essentially be in multiple places at once, then collapse those possibilities into a single reality at their chosen destination. It makes traditional wormhole travel look primitive by comparison." Tay's eyes widened. "Are you saying their ship can teleport?" "Not exactly," Sun said. "It's more elegant than that. It never fully leaves our dimension. It just smears itself across probability space and then reforms. No wonder their ship looks so crude on the outside. All their advanced technology is focused on the drive system." "The security implications are enormous," said one of Tay's officers. "A fleet with this technology could appear anywhere, anytime, without warning. No defense system could stop them." Tay paced the room, his mind racing. "But the humans have shown no aggressive intentions, and their ship has minimal weapons." "There's something else, Commander," said Engineer Hua. "The system appears to be unrefined. It's almost as if they built it without fully understanding its principles. There are inefficiencies in the design that no engineer would include if they comprehended what they were creating." "Are you suggesting they developed this accidentally?" Tay asked incredulously. Sun nodded slowly. "It's possible. Sometimes scientific breakthroughs happen through unexpected paths. They might have been trying to solve a different problem entirely, and stumbled onto this solution without recognizing its significance. They're not hiding it," Gunn realized. There's no special shielding around the drive system, no attempt to mask its energy signature. They literally brought revolution to our doorstep without even knowing it. Back in the council chamber, the debate continued, with species arguing over resources while completely unaware that the balance of power in the galaxy had already shifted. Captain Jin sat listening, frustrated by humanity's powerless position, not realizing that her ship, the very vessel that had been mocked and dismissed, contained technology that would soon make every council race re-evaluate their understanding of humans. Commander Tay stared at the holographic display of the Endeavor's drive system, a decision weighing heavily on him. Protocol demanded he report this discovery immediately to the full council, but such knowledge would transform galactic politics overnight. The humans, these newcomers who had been treated with condescension, had unknowingly developed what many considered the holy grail of propulsion technology. "Secure this room," he ordered finally. "No one discusses these findings outside this team until I personally brief Council Leader Han. The diplomatic implications are too significant for leaks or rumors." As the team acknowledged his orders, Tay wondered how the Council would react when they learned that the primitive human ship they had been mocking contained technology that rendered their most advanced vessels obsolete. Captain Jin couldn't believe how quickly everything had changed. Just yesterday, she and her crew had been relegated to observer seats, barely acknowledged by the Galactic Council. Today they sat at the main table, surrounded by the highest-ranking officials from 27 spacefaring civilizations, all of them suddenly very interested in what humans had to say. The emergency session had been called without explanation. Jin and her team had been escorted to the chamber by an honor guard, a stark contrast to their previous treatment. The atmosphere crackled with tension and excitement. Council Leader Han stood at the center platform, looking both impressed and uncomfortable. Beside him stood Commander Tay, Chief Science Officer Gunn, and a team of ARC scientists who kept stealing glances at the human delegation. "Representatives of the Galactic Council," Han began, his voice carrying throughout the chamber. "Recent discoveries have prompted us to reconsider Earth's status within our community." He paused as if the words were difficult to say. "It appears we have underestimated our human colleagues." A murmur swept through the chamber. Captain Jin exchanged puzzled looks with her crew. "Our standard security scans have revealed that the Earth vessel Endeavor employs drive technology previously considered theoretical by our most advanced scientific institutions," Han continued. "Commander Tay will explain the findings." Tay stepped forward, activating a holographic display that showed complex energy patterns. "The human ship utilizes what can only be described as quantum probability manipulation. Unlike our conventional drives that force passage through space-time, their system allows partial existence across multiple dimensional states simultaneously." Jin's eyes widened as understanding dawned. They were talking about the PE-80 stabilizers, the new components Engineer Lee had installed before their journey. "The implications are profound," Tay continued. "This technology renders traditional defensive systems obsolete. It allows for nearly instantaneous repositioning without the vulnerability windows of wormhole travel. It defies our current understanding of physics." The chamber erupted with voices, some alarmed, others excited. Representatives from multiple species approached the central platform, demanding more information. Han raised his hands for silence. "Captain Jin, would you care to explain how Earth developed this technology, and why you chose not to mention it during our discussions?" All eyes turned to Jin as she stood and walked to the center of the chamber. She took a deep breath, suddenly understanding the dramatic shift in their treatment. "Council Leader, I believe. You're referring to what we call the probability engine," she said calmly. "It's not classified technology. In fact, it's been documented in our scientific journals for the past 8 years. This caused another stir in the chamber. The PE-80 stabilizers on the Endeavor are actually just the first-generation prototype," Jin continued. "They were developed by Dr. Hyun at Seoul Quantum Institute as part of research into uncertainty principles. The original goal wasn't even space travel. It was an attempt to create more stable quantum computers." Jin gestured to Engineer Lee to join her. Lee stepped forward nervously, not used to such attention. Engineer Lee can explain the technical aspects better than I can, Jin said. She led the installation of the system on our ship. Lee cleared her throat. The PE system doesn't actually teleport the ship, as some of your scientists suggested. It creates a field that allows matter to exist in probability space rather than fixed positions. By collapsing the wave function at a desired location, we can effectively reposition without traversing the space between. She pulled up diagrams on her tablet and projected them into the chamber's display system. These are from our public scientific database. The theoretical papers were published by Dr. Hyun in international journals. The practical applications were demonstrated at the Global Science Expo 3 years ago. The council scientists examined the diagrams with astonishment. "You've been publishing this openly?" Gunn asked incredulously. "Without security classifications?" Lee nodded. "Of course. Scientific progress depends on open exchange. We've even hosted international conferences discussing potential improvements." A Nuru representative pushed forward. "Why build such advanced technology into a ship with such basic external features?" Jin smiled slightly. "Resources and priorities. Earth unified its space program to focus on drive technology rather than aesthetics. We figured getting there was more important than looking good doing it." This drew unexpected laughter from several delegates. Council leader Han looked somewhat embarrassed. "It seems we made assumptions based on appearances. For that, I offer the Council's apology." "No apology needed," Jin replied graciously. "First contacts are always complicated. We're just happy to be here." What followed was a flurry of diplomatic activity, unlike anything Jin had experienced. Species that had barely acknowledged humanity now submitted formal requests for technology exchange programs. The Arcs, particularly, seemed eager to establish joint research initiatives. By the end of the day, the Council had unanimously voted to grant Earth full membership status, bypassing the usual century-long observation period. Jin found herself signing cooperation agreements with civilizations thousands of years older than human recorded history. As the formal session concluded, Jin found herself approached by Elder Min, one of the oldest council members. "You know what? The most remarkable thing is, Captain," the ancient diplomat said quietly. "It's not that you developed this technology, it's that you did it without realizing how revolutionary it was. Your people solved a problem our brightest minds declared impossible, and you treated it as just another engineering challenge." Jin smiled. "Sometimes not knowing something is impossible is the first step to making it possible." 3 days later, the Endeavour prepared to depart Stellar Nexus Station. The once mocked vessel now had an escort of diplomatic ships from 6 different species. Engineers and scientists from across the galaxy had been granted permission to visit Earth to learn more about probability field technology. As the docking clamps released, Jin stood on the bridge, watching the station grow smaller on their view screen. "Captain," said Communications Officer Bay, "we're receiving farewell messages from virtually every delegation. The Arcs are requesting we visit their homeworld next." Jin nodded, still processing how completely their situation had changed. "Set course for Earth. We have quite a report to deliver." As the Endeavour engaged its probability drive, briefly existing in multiple states across space-time before reforming light years away, the watching council representatives finally understood what they had missed through their arrogance. The Pisces, seemingly primitive newcomers, had already revolutionized space travel, while the self-proclaimed advanced races hadn't been paying attention.